Well, good morning, everyone. It is an absolutely beautiful morning here. I'm in outback South Australia. I've just left the town of Maree, and this adventure started off with a change of plan. We are heading off on a major trip. Our adventure begins in Darwin, but first we need to get there. It's taken us 2 days to get to the town of Maree. Our intended route was to go up the Udnadada track, cross the Painted Desert and continue heading north. But due to unexpected recent heavy rains, the tracks are all flooded. We may not be able to get through. Welcome to one of my most ambitious projects. This trip will see us travelling 13,000 kilometres across Australia to some of the most remote and amazing places. Well, good morning, guys. It is about 5:30 a.m. It is quite cold. I'm in the town of Maree. Now, the plan was to head from Maree up the Udnadada track to Udnadada and then head across the Painted Desert and continue heading north. However, there's been a torrential downpour and there's flooding everywhere. William Creek is completely flooded. The Udnadada track is closed. There's no way out of here. Every track out of here is closed due to flooding and impassable conditions. So the only option we have is to backtrack the way we have come. We have to go all the way back down to Port Augusta, which is 4 hours, and then head up the Stewart Highway to Coopapedy, which is where we're going to be staying tonight. I'm just outside a building that is a post office, it's a service station, it's a GP clinic, it's a whole lot of things. It's a little mini multi-business type thing. I need fuel. I'm down to a third of a tank, which is nowhere near enough to go hit the tracks, and there's no opening time. Like I said, it's about 5:30. I don't know what time it opens. I'm hoping 6. I was hoping there'd be some sort of automated machine where I can scan my card and buy fuel, but it's very, very basic stuff, so no modern technology here. So we finally managed to get some fuel. The pump was not operational, and the guy had to come and kickstart it, literally kickstart it. He had to put his foot on the pump and try and get the pump going. And then, of course, the pump wasn't incrementing the numbers. So I then suggested to him, well, what if we get a jerry can and fill it up, and then we know we've got 20 litres, pour it in the car and keep doing that. So we filled up one jerry can and poured most of it in the car, some of it on the car, and then the pump broke and it wouldn't pump anymore. So we've got 20 litres of fuel and that is hopefully enough to get us to the next town as we're heading south. It's a beautiful morning. How you doing, Susie?
I'm awesome.
Awesome, enjoying it?
Up for our new day today.
Yep, new day today.
Today, see what it brings.
It's an absolutely beautiful morning.
The colours have been amazing.
Yeah, beautiful sunrise.
Sunset.
Beautiful sunsets, beautiful sunrises.
Down on the road.
There's something on the road.
Trucks.
It's a roadkill.
And feeding on that roadkill is a wedge-tailed eagle. This is the largest bird of prey in Australia with a wingspan of 2.8 metres. They are amazing birds.
So everything around Murray is flooded. There's one sealed road and two dirt tracks leading out of Murray. The dirt tracks are impassable. You can see on either side of me on this sealed road here, there's standing water everywhere. And so there's no other way out. We have to go back the way we've come. So at the moment I have about half a tank of fuel, slightly less. That will hopefully get me to the next fuel stop. There's a town called Copley which is further down the track, and we're going to try that. If they don't have fuel, then the next one is Lee Creek. They only had diesel, and after that I think is Lyndhurst and eventually Hawker. So we're going to hope that we can get back there on the fuel that I've got, where we can fill up and then keep on heading south until Port Augusta. Then we're going to get onto the Stewart Highway and head back north to Cooper Pedy, which is where we're planning to stay tonight. I've got about 10 hours of driving to do today, so it's time to hit the tracks.
Some wild brumbies have wandered up to say hello. They are beautiful and obviously quite friendly. I've seen plenty of emus in my time, but never in a pack like this, running by the road. This was an absolutely amazing sight, especially once I stopped and got out of the car and turned the engine off. I could observe their natural behaviour. They were quite amazing.
That was really amazing. Just a flock of emus, herd of emus, horde. No, it was a flock. Flock of emus. And if you turn the car off and get out, they calm down and they're actually inquisitive. They come closer for a look, and yeah, it's just incredible. So occasionally I see people that just hoon past like nothing else. In fact, one of them overtook me yesterday, and I was doing the speed limit on this track here, and I wasn't fast enough for him. So he flew past like 140, 150, and threw up some rocks. I've got a chipped windscreen now, but he would have missed that. Well, yeah, animal encounters and beautiful sunsets and things. So it really pays, if you're interested in this sort of thing, to drive slowly, and if you see animals, emus, horses, whatever, slow down, gently stop, turn the car off, even get out and just watch, and they'll come up to you. It's really, really cool. But you can see just how wet the track is on either side. You really don't want to run off the track. I just took one step off the road onto the side here and my foot sunk down. It's very, very wet, so we have to be careful not to even accidentally go off the sealed road. It is a sloppy mess out there, and the Oodnadatta track would have been just like that the entire way. You would get bogged within a metre, and it's just not worth even trying, and that's why the track is closed. But we've just stopped here for a break, and it is so peaceful and quiet. There's a bit of fog around. It's quite unusual for the outback. There's a little bit of fog, a little bit of rain still. We've got a bit of rain sprinkling on the car just before. But it is nice and peaceful. Just arrived in the town of Copley. We've fueled up. Unfortunately, they didn't have 95. They did have 91, so I've filled the car to the brim. We're doing at about 20 litres per 100 k's. So the car really burns through 91 like nothing else. But that should be enough to get us to Port Augusta, where we'll fill up with 98. One of the learnings out of all of this is fill up at every opportunity possible. So as we were coming through Lee Creek yesterday on the way to Maree, there was we wanted to fill up, but there was only diesel available. So then we thought, okay, well, we'll fill up at Maree because I know that they've got fuel there. And this morning we almost weren't able to fill up with fuel because one, the guy was closed when I first went there, and then when he finally did open up, the petrol pump wasn't working, and right after filling up one 20-litre jerry can and pouring it in the car, I asked him for a second 20-litre of fuel, and the pump actually broke. So I was very lucky to be the first in line to get some petrol, and then to get us 20 litres is exactly how much I needed to get back to Copley to get some fuel, and now we're going down further south. So always top up, even if you think you don't need it, always top up fuel. This landscape is absolutely spectacular. We've got the mist sitting on top of the mountains all the way around us, flat plain, slightly undulating terrain between the mountain ranges on either side. Spectacular. Well, we're never going to get to Kubapiti at this rate, but I just can't help myself. Sometimes the sun comes out and look at this amazing scenery. It is absolutely beautiful. Just look at those hills behind me. This is the top end of the Flinders Ranges, and that will extend all the way down to, well, technically down to Antarctica, but all the way down to the coast. It is simply stunning. So we've discovered a sandstone shack that is crumbling apart. This is obviously very, very old. You have exactly the same thing on the Oodnadatta track. Now, on the Oodnadatta track, these buildings served as telegraph repeater stations, and there was a telegraph line between Adelaide and Darwin. And there were people posting in these buildings all the time to operate the telegraph repeaters. Now, as technology progressed, these were replaced initially by the railway line, and now you no longer need these buildings, so they've been left to crumble apart.
Right, time to continue heading south. The road winds its way south, heading past the Flinders Ranges, which are absolutely spectacular. We head through several small towns and finally end up in Port Augusta, where we refuel and finally start heading north again.
So we finally arrived in Port Augusta. That was just a very, very quick 6-hour detour. From here we turn north and we're heading straight up the Stewart Highway from Port Augusta all the way to Darwin. That's a distance of about 3,000 kilometres. It's going to be a hell of a lot of driving because we've got 3 days to do that distance. So let's hit the road.
The afternoon started rather overcast, but the further inland we headed, the weather started clearing up. By late afternoon, the clouds had cleared and it was hot and sunny. The surrounding countryside started to resemble the South Australia that I'm very familiar with. Flat, arid desert. We briefly stopped off at Lake Hart, which is a salt lake. It is usually dry, but because of the recent rains, is now full of water. Quite a rare sight.
Well, we've been on the road for quite a few hours now and we've just stopped to cook dinner. We're not actually going to get to Coober Pedy until about 8:30 or 9 o'clock tonight. So we've stopped by the side of the road at a rest stop and we're cooking dinner. The light is absolutely phenomenal. It is so beautiful. When the sound of a passing car dies down, it is absolutely dead quiet, not a breath of wind, and this is what I love about travelling in the outback. It's moments like this. This is what it's all for. This is why I've built the four-wheel drive. This is why I take time off work and just use every minute I can to just go touring Australia. It is absolutely gorgeous. So the sun is about to set, we'll finish off dinner and drive for another 3 hours to get to Coober Pedy. And I shall report more once we get there.
This part of the country is so empty, there is literally no place to stop. So we kept on driving until finally the sun dipped its head below the horizon.
So it's now 6 o'clock at night and the sun has set about 40 minutes ago. The sky is absolutely amazing. It is orange fading to pink, fading to blue, fading to silver and dark grey. It is jaw-droppingly amazing, and the trees and bush are silhouetted by the light on the horizon. It is just breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking, and my photos just don't do it justice. You got to see it to believe it. It is simply breathtaking. Look at it.
The night sky just got better and better. And when we thought it couldn't get any better, it did. We saw a shooting star. Let's see that again. That was amazing.
So we've just arrived at our hotel in Kubapidi. It's about 9 o'clock. God, it was a long day. This is the Desert Cave Hotel, and it's cut into the ground. It's underground. This is an underground room, and it is pretty cool. It is pretty cool. Let's have a look at the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
How's the bed?
You want to sleep in the car?
Oh no! Oh dear. Well, at this point, I don't care if the bed is lumpy or hard because
We're very
it's
tired.
just so buggered. But it's an underground room. Awesome.
Yay!
Okay, well, I'm gonna have a rest, and I'll see you in the morning. Well, good morning, everyone. We've had a pretty decent night here in Kubapidi in this underground room. For a while, I started suspecting that it might not be an actual underground room. I thought that this rock that you see, the rock ceiling and the rock walls, were just fake rock, imitation rock, made to look like the real thing. And I had a really, really close inspection, and it turns out it is actual real rock. And I'll show you what's that it is an underground room. If we go outside, you can see behind me that is actually carved into the rock. So that's our room right there. So yeah, pretty cool. So the plan for today is to head to Alice Springs. That is about 700 kilometres away, and it's about 7 hours drive, which in actual fact will turn out to be about 10 hours because we'll be stopping every now and then for a break and lunch. So it's another long day on the road, but something that is absolutely necessary because we need to get to Darwin by the day after tomorrow. So tight schedule for the start of this trip, but it'll be well worth it in the end.
The following morning, we had a look around Kubapidi, an old opal mining town. Well, this is Kubapidi. We're just looking around, and look at what's behind me. Some weird and wonderful thing from Star Wars, I think. There's so many things to see here, lots of really interesting mining contraptions. Kubapidi is a fascinating place. It's out in the middle of the desert, and because it gets so hot, everything is underground. You've got people living underground, you've got shops underground, hotels underground, there's a church underground. Underground is a nice even temperature, and it kind of makes sense. But it's a really interesting place. To me, it seems as though the whole town is stuck in the 70s. It just really has a really 70s vibe about it. Everything is old and crumbling apart. A lot of things seem cobbled together. It's like stepping into a Mad Max movie. It is really, really a fascinating place. So this is an underground Catholic church carved into the rock. Look at that. It's absolutely amazing. So there's enough seating here to hold about 40 or so people. Tiny little church carved into the rock. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
We are just a few kilometres outside of Coober Pedy, and all around you can see these mounds of dirt. Everywhere you look, mounds of dirt. And next to each mound of dirt is a mining shaft. Now, typically what happens is you have a lot of prospectors that are just single people, not corporations, they're just single people. They buy the rights to a tiny little plot, and then they dig a mine shaft and they start digging for opals. And I was actually talking to an old miner the last time I was here, and he was telling me that it's getting harder and harder for the individual prospector to survive, because you have these big mining companies that come in here and they buy up all the mining rights and all the land, and they basically are putting all the prospectors out of business. And it also drives the mining license price up. So it's getting very hard for them to survive. But there is a huge amount of opals under the ground here, and fossils and other minerals, and there's a lot of mining going on still to this day, and it's quite amazing. Just don't go wandering off into the bush at night, because you're going to fall down a mine shaft. But there we go. So this is Coober Pedy. Now we're going to hit the road and head on to Alice Springs. Well, it's been a really long day. We've just arrived at the Northern Territory border. This is the road train going past. We have another about 2.5 hours until we get to Alice Springs, and we're going to actually stay in a motel tonight. There's been quite a bit of violence in Alice Springs of late, and it's really just the Aboriginal people against each other and also against the police. They're retaliating for various things. There shouldn't be any danger to us, but just to be on the safe side, we're going to stay at a nice motel, especially one that has a secure car park, so the car will be safe as well. So we're going to stop here for a little bit and then head off to Alice Springs. The car's been doing remarkably well. It's carrying a lot of weight, and it still accelerates perfectly well. I've got no complaints about it. It's super comfortable. It's really great. We've actually seen quite a few FJs on this trip, which has been really heartening to see an FJ out in the middle of nowhere. And FJ owners always wave to each other. It must be a thing with FJ Cruisers or Toyotas, but especially FJ Cruisers. Every single time we see an FJ, they're waving to us, we're waving to them. It's just fantastic. Anyway, onwards and upwards.
The long journey north continues. It is now day 4 on the road for us. It is long day followed by long day. The landscape is ever changing. The further north we go, the redder the dirt, the yellower the grass, the more arid the countryside. But it is all utterly beautiful. I love the way the colour of the light changes on the landscape as the day progresses. And it's hard not to be mesmerised by the road in front of you, going on and on and on.
This is my favourite time of the day. It is about 4:30 and the sun is getting close to going down, and in the Northern Territory the light at this time is absolutely spectacular. Everything turns a gold colour, the yellow grass turns gold, the red soil glows, everything is just spectacular. At this rate, we'll never get to the motel. Because I insist on stopping every 2 minutes to film something.
Thank you so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more before they're released on YouTube, you can go to patreon.com/4xadventures and sign up for a membership. Your support means the world to us. See you in the next video.